Hello, everybody. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. My name is Stephen D. Kelley. This is TruthCat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. It is 6:01 p.m., December 16th, 2021. Almost Christmas, almost New Year's, almost all kinds of things, almost year-end. It's 52 degrees outside here and cloudy, mostly cloudy. It's been raining and all kinds of stuff, so I guess we don't have to worry about COVID or drought, But anyway, so that's what's going on. I don't have a title for you tonight, but I've been having this vague feeling of a show floating around my head. It hasn't quite congealed. It's been sort of sitting there since last night, and I think what's going to end up happening is I'm going to not really have a bitch fest per se, but I do have to complain because I'm a little disappointed. I'm feeling like, I'm always wanting things to move faster, but at the same time, the level of overall stupid out there in the world just continues to be mind-boggling. And, of course, I'll talk about examples of that hitting me today. But from a current event standpoint, people like to talk about current events and shows and things like this. There's so much going on. I mean, the Maxwell trial, the COVID, of course, various different uprisings and mandates, etc. But ultimately, of course, our mission is Occupy the Getty. And I find myself feeling like I've pretty much told you what you need to hear. And yet I still have people wanting to know if we're there yet. Are we there yet? Are we almost there? Are we almost there? Are we there yet? And yet I just don't see enough work or enough progress. I mean, we are expanding somewhat exponentially, and the increases can get much greater very quicker. But at the same time, I'm just not seeing the great amounts of work and focus. And what are people focusing on? Well, I'll tell you, I went into my email today, and of course I'm on AOL, which is a cabal-owned entity. I mean, it's always been Rothschild / Rockefeller entity, Time Magazine. There was a time when the Rockefeller entity, Time Magazine, was taken over by the AOL startup, and now we call it AOL, but it's still Rockefeller. Now, you would think that that's the enemy. You would know that's the enemy, but today I go in there and I get this big thing about Trump, and it's a big picture of Trump, and they have a question: would you support something, Trump's media empire, something of this nature? And you click on it, and it turns out that what it is it's a big ad for the Republican Party, the Republican National Committee, whatever it is, something fundraising arm of the GOP. And basically, the premise is that you're registering whether or not you support Trump's launch into this global media empire that he's trying to set up right now, this alternative social media thing. I talked about that briefly in the last show, and about the funding. Well, I talked about the funding before that, but I guess last week I was saying that Rumble has become the official video platform now for this Trump empire that he's setting up. It's a little disgusting. And that alone shows me that there is quite a few million people that are still stuck on this stuff. When I see these Q channels basically saying that Trump is still president, and they say that the craziest thing I saw today is they say that when he comes back, he's going to be something like the 19th president, not the 46th or whatever, because they say that everybody after Ulysses Grant was not legitimate because of some nonsense that took place involving the crown. Well, yada, 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 yada. You could go back to any number of dates and pick one and say this is where the corruption started. Just to kind of give us a little bit of a theme tonight, because I know that sometimes you need to be shocked. But I'm just going to remind you all that what I'm doing and what my mission is to completely destroy down to the roots the entire government system that's in place, not just in the United States, in your local cities, communities, but in all of the countries, all the systems, all of them. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that from a enemy of the state perspective, I'm an enemy of all the states. Now, I know that gets a lot of anarchists excited because they have feelings that are similar, but yesterday I wrote something on Twitter, and it was in regard to the critical race theory. And the critical race theory is basically a thing that they're trying to teach in schools right now, which basically says that the racial issues taking place in the United States, perhaps I'm sure there are other places, but at least here they're saying isn't just because of individuals being racist, but actually institutions, namely the government, things that the government is responsible for, various services, etc., are the promoters and the real reason why this exists, and therefore changes need to be made at a government level, institution level, to combat this. I assume that means schools and whatever. But anyway, the point is in my tweet, I basically said, critical race theory doesn't matter because we're going to remove this government completely anyway. And I did catch the attention of, like I said, some anarchists and some various different Antifa types, communist, Marxist types that thought that this resonated with them. But obviously they don't know me very well. But I suspect that the reality is somewhere in between. When you all realize that there's nothing worth saving, seriously, and the fact that everything that we've been dealing with for the last 25 million years is wrong, it would be a little easier to understand. But unfortunately, nobody's really going to do that. Now, when you look at the problems that we're dealing with, it seems like it's always the same enemies, the same humans, but people won't say anything about it. Now, that kind of brings me to the whole Maxwell case. And again, and it's important that I suggest that this tribe is not the problem. Something else is the problem, much older. But the humans that support these policies, these ancient evil policies that have been enslaving the earth for all this time, they're going to need to be made to not do that. And that'll come into the COVID thing. But if I could just start with this Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Humans, for the most part, are looking for sex. They're looking for nudity. They're looking for something taboo. And they're excited by this stuff, like watching an accident on the side of the road. Morbid curiosity, whatever, but you're going to look at it. So this is all we're getting fed. The trial that's going on right now with this Maxwell person, of course, it's a distraction. It's still going on, but it could be so much. Now, there's a few things that I need to just ask, because I think these are the sort of things that it's really embarrassing that everyone is not saying. So if we can kind of look at some of the details, I think maybe we can understand why people aren't saying these things. But on the surface, it's all about sex. It's all about luring underage females somewhere, someplace, where they could be molested by Jeffrey Epstein or his guests. This is the basis of the entire trial, that somehow this woman was involved with attracting these girls, coercing them, and bringing them to Epstein. Now, of course, this is 100% factually true, but it's just a tiny, tiny aspect of all of it. So first of all, they're going to make the entire trial about this nonsense, and they're going to, right now, they're bringing in memory experts, and they're going to suggest that the witnesses, the girl that says that she's done this, have the responsibility of proving that their statements or their memories of what they were experiencing are valid. So, of course, they're putting it on the witness. Now, why do they even need to have a witness? Now, first of all, if you wanted to focus just on the sex, because if you wanted to suggest that what was going on there was nothing but sex, and it had nothing to do with the Mossad, and it had nothing to do with the mafia, it had nothing to do with money laundering, it had nothing to do with extortion, had nothing to do with any kind of mafia control structure that's running the world, including the likes of people like Trump, we're not going to go there, but we're going to talk about little girls getting molested by Epstein and who knows who else. But it wasn't that long ago, supposedly, when Epstein supposedly died, sometime prior to it, or I guess, or shortly thereafter, where supposed federal troops, military types, legal types, supposedly entered his island, went into his supposed bunker, and supposedly destroyed it. Now, first of all, Epstein is not dead. Epstein is a Mossad agent. Epstein is all these things. But the trial against this woman shouldn't be about some actions that she did, but her associations with Epstein and the actions and how that bears on the actions. So our system is going to basically say that it's not the dead guy, Epstein, that's on trial, because we would condemn him. So we're going to ignore all of that, and we're going to focus on things that only apply to this one woman. And of course, being a woman, we're supposed to be a little more lenient. We're going to have that white knight thing. She's a victim too. That will come out, I'm sure. But the thing is that if agents of the United States, any of them, actually were on this island, they would have collected evidence. Kind of like Anthony Weiner's laptop. So there's lots of evidence. But where is this evidence? Where are all the photos of the tunnels, the elevators, all the detailed evidence of what went on down there? Now, more than likely, I would suspect, with the level of murder that was taking place at that one particular location, remember this is happening all over the globe, but in Epstein's Island, it's a relatively small, compact little murder dungeon, or whatever it is that they do down there. They've got some sort of little satanic, Masonic place that they do these sacrifices. Well, the point is that unless it's been flooded with seawater, I would think that they should be able to do a little forensic investigation and find some body fluid or find some trace of DNA in some crevice somewhere that they could tie back to some victim, some missing child, one of these little girls. If the girl is testifying, if the girl is saying that she did this and that this happened, wouldn't the court have images, have access to images that were taken from the island that they could display in court, and she could corroborate her story with her knowledge of the location? I would think that they would have collected enough information from this initial visit to the island to prove or disprove anything that anyone else that had been there had said. Now, we all know that a long list of important people, celebrities, politicians, notable scientists, etc., have been to this island. But nobody's talking about the billionaires that park their multi-million-dollar yachts offshore and come and go via small craft or helicopter, perhaps. Nobody talks about that. Well, this show's not about Epstein, but it's important to realize that the very fact that they can't say any of these things, the very fact that they don't mention Mossad, the fact that these people, this woman Maxwell, comes from a family of famous Mossad agents, people who are well known to have spent a lot of time with people such as Donald Trump, not Joe Biden. I don't see any pictures of Biden on Maxwell's yacht. Don't see any pictures of Biden over there on Jeffrey Epstein's island either. I'm pretty sure that Biden never spent any time at the Wexner estate molesting little girls there. The Wexner estate, hell, that wasn't even Epstein Island. That was just the private little playground for those guys. Nobody talks about that. Anyway, the idea is that it's kind of easy to see that this thing that we call a legal system is broke. This one case, should be enough to show you that it's all a big farce. There's certainly no justice, and if they're only going to talk about whether or not a single female was somehow recruited to be molested by this woman, it's completely glossing over and ignoring the horrendous amount of criminal activity that was really taking place. And somehow we're supposed to be satisfied with this. Now, it wasn't that long ago that foreign operatives were hung. They were hanged, like Rosenbergs, who gave the nuclear information to the Soviets. They hung them. They were hanged. What's the difference between Rosenberg and Epstein or Maxwell? What's the difference? There's no difference at all. At all. Maxwell's father, Sir Maxwell, was a known double agent. He wasn't just MI5. He was also KGB, and he was also Israeli intelligence. There was no loyalty there, certainly. So we're not allowed to be upset that the intelligence network of the little itty-bitty little country of Israel is trying to subvert our country. At the very least, you can see that our legal system has been subverted. Obviously, you can see that our political system has been subverted. Maybe you can't. You should be able to see that our media, all of it, has been subverted. Certainly. Our Constitution has certainly been subverted. So many fun little things are taking place. And yet, we have people thinking that Donald Trump is still president and that he's going to return. Now, when I look at some of the stuff coming out of Q or some of the stuff that's being pushed, what do I see? I'm seeing the flat earth crap. I'm seeing Tartaria. Where is that coming from? These same people. What am I seeing? I'm seeing cryptocurrency, this greed crap. That's purely the enemy. And yet, you're focusing on making money. You want to make money in cryptocurrency. You're talking about silver. Some people right now, silver apparently just took a big dump today. I don't know what it lost, 30%, something like that. Personally, I think that's great. I think silver's a great investment. But I think guns are a good investment also. Now, it's not supposed to be money. It's a precious metal. It's not about the money. But that's all you're talking about. Well, you're still talking about the new variants coming in. Here they're talking about the Omicron variant, and apparently Israel is getting ready. They're running tests, getting ready for the Omega variant, which is supposed to be extra deadly. They're still talking about this shit. Now, here's something to consider. It would appear that the best that any of these pharmaceuticals companies can do is a factory can make a vaccine. And I'm euphemistically calling this thing a vaccine. But they can only make one a second. Now, there's only, so many companies, 5 companies that are making this. And together, if they were all at full production, they would only be able to make, it would take them something like 10 years to make 1 billion doses. That's 1 billion doses. Now, if they want to vaccinate the entire world, and now they're trying to give everybody multiple vaccines, 3, 4, however many shots with boosters. Remember, they can only make 1 per second. So suddenly, you're looking at 40, 50 years to make 1 billion vaccines. So if all of these companies were to expand, say, maybe 5 times, you're still looking at 10 years to make just 1 billion vaccines. So if you're going to have to make 7, 8 billion vaccines, times 4, times 5, obviously, even if all of the vaccine production in the world was multiplied 10, 20 times, they still wouldn't be able to produce it quick enough to deliver it, and they wouldn't have the time to deliver it to all those people. It's mathematically impossible for this to be done. So, what does that suggest? That suggests that all of these vaccines that are supposedly being rolled out right now have not just been developed. They've been sitting on a shelf now, stockpiling for the last 10, 20 years. They've been making these things. Now, I don't know if any of you guys noticed, but the last couple of days, we've been getting slammed hard with chemtrails. Now, again, I've tried to point out that the new stupidity test in the world was whether or not you actually believe that these chemtrails are not water vapor coming out of the back of jet engines, but rather materials that are being sprayed on us. You got to kind of be stupid not to see that, but unfortunately, that is the big test right now, the stupidity test. Rand Paul, somebody that I thought might have been one of the last good ones, came out and basically was suggesting that the vaccines weren't poison. Now, the only way that you could justify that by saying something even slightly positive about these vaccines would be as if you didn't believe that these chemicals and these poisons were being dumped on us from jets. Because once you understand that, you'll understand that all of this, what it is, for what it is. I'm going to go on a little of this, but I got to tell you real quick. I'm trying to understand why humans, for the most part, and if anything, when I was talking or watching the people in Iran last week, I think that I realized that this is not just an American thing. This is a universal thing. There's a lot of stupid out there. And if anything, the world follows us here. And there's so many X levels of stupid below us, I suspect. That's all very discouraging. I don't really know how to deal with that. Anyway, the Trump thing's pretty bad. Well, thankfully, there's a lot of people protesting these COVID passports, and I'd like to think that that's going to turn into something. Germany, of course, is having a hard time, and there's a bunch of something like 10,000 farmers protesting. In New York, here just the other day, a bunch of people went into a Cheesecake Factory restaurant. Apparently, they refused to provide their proof of vaccination, and they were actually arrested. They were taken to jail. The local sheriff showed up and took them to jail, which started a protest outside of the sheriff's. Now, I noticed also there's been some groups of people that have gotten together and forced their way into food courts and this and that, and they're being somewhat Well, they're fighting back. But here's the thing. And I've said this before, and a lot of people really don't like this, but the people that are enforcing this, that are doing it for money, they're the enemy. That's just the way it is. Stupidity is not really something that can be tolerated here. And just because somebody is hungry and needs to feed their family does not make it okay, especially if they're in the way of someone else trying to feed their family. So I've said before, and I'll say again, I'm very much for people trying to enforce these mandates being held accountable. And that means losing business, not just losing business, but losing their real estate if necessary. Now, I think that mass protest or mass gatherings might be the answer. And of course, I would recommend that anybody doing any of this, of course, is promoting the Getty. But it needs to be done. I don't want to suggest violence, but we really can't cooperate with this. Yesterday, somebody posted something, and it was from another person out there that had a show, does a program, podcast, I don't know what you call it, another talking head. This guy's name was Stu Peters. The only reason I know about this person is because he's as far as I know, the second person after Charlie Ward to have this Allie Carter girl on the show. And of course, that always generates a little activity for us. But at the same time, I don't know this person. And it was suggested to me that maybe I ought to try to connect with this person. Goodness, global cryptocurrency. Well, my attitude, somebody posted something that this guy had said, or whatever, one of his podcasts in the group, and I said, no, when he starts talking about the Getty or has me on, then maybe he can be on our page. And someone said, well, do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? Well, someone already has. Someone has already sent me his information. And my attitude is if he had this girl talking about the Getty and all that on his show, then in doing due diligence, he would have figured out who I was, the Getty mission. He would have learned about all of this, and he would have followed up on it. Now, I say that it's not an accident that he's either ignorant or was acting like he was ignorant about all of this stuff. I'm pretty sure about that. Mostly, what I was trying to suggest to the people that were saying that I need to make more effort to get on these various different shows is that I shouldn't have to. You're following the mission. You're following me. You know about it. You're tuning into these other talking heads. You're hearing what they have to say. And as I've tried to say, the 99% of all these guys are worthless, but you're still tuning in. And yet you are knowledgeable about my mission, and you're asking me what we can do to do more and how far along are we and this sort of thing. And my attitude is, why aren't you doing more? Why do I not have all of these people out there, all these talking heads? Why are they not beating the path to my door? Why are you not out there banging on their doors, telling them to have me on their show? And why are you only using the internet? Why is it only people on the internet? Why don't you call your newspapers, write to your editor of your newspapers? Why don't you write to the television stations? Why don't you write to the radio programs? There's lots of radio programs out there. Why don't you write to them? Why don't you talk to your preacher, your priest? Why don't you get them involved? You go to a church, they've got lots of people that congregate. What have you done to spread the message to those people? So here's the thing. It's not my job to do something spectacular to get the attention of all these people. It's not. Because technically I already have. But the enemy is suppressing that information. No, I'm not selling sex. I'm not selling greed. I'm not selling some sort of lurid scandal well, actually, this is a lurid scandal, but this is a real scandal. That should be enough. There should be enough here to do it. And if it's not working because you think either I'm not making enough noise or the people responsible for amplifying what I say are not doing it, well, that's up to you. You need to do that. You need to use your voice, and you need to use your feet and your hands, and you need to pound on those doors and get out there and do it for me. And here's another thing. Someone asked me, they said they got all excited and wanted to heed my call. They're like, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out there and spam your stuff all over the place. Oh, by the way, can you send me all your memes? No, you should already have them. They're already out there. They're on my Twitter. They're on my Occupy the Getty page. They're out there floating around on the internet. You can find them, and you can make them yourself. That's kind of important. You really got to take that initiative to do that yourself. So all I can do is try to light a fire under you because you're the one hearing the information, and you have to go out and light more fires under someone else. That's really what it's all about. So all this stupidity that we're seeing, Trump is still president, whatever, bullshit. You gotta see through it. You gotta work on what we're doing. I'll tell you, the projection and the crap that's basically being put out there by the enemy, it just doesn't matter what they say. You've got to ignore it all, and you've got to put out our message. It's really all there is that's important. Well, here's a good example. Here's the thing at Dr. Q's boombox. Wendy Rogers, weather modification is real. Ask Bill Gates. Weather modification. That's like saying sex traffic is real. That's not the issue. It's the chemicals. It's the poisons. It's not about the weather. All right, you guys. I'm going to take a really quick break here just because I can. And I'll come back and just talk to you guys a little bit more. But that's really the gist of it, okay? I don't like having shows where I got to talk about people being stupid, but you got to do more work if we're going to overcome the stupid that we're dealing with, all right? So I'll be right back. I got to be honest with you guys, I'm getting hungry. That's why I didn't have snacks before the show. I got to eat something. Not good when I'm being hungry. But I do have to. My goodness, Snickers. Those are vulgar noises you're making. I don't know if you can hear that. Cat's got a hairball or something over there. Jeez. Anyway, I'll just say this. I noticed another thing here before I move on, and I ask you guys to send me money. I just want to point out that somebody sent me this thing from, it was a tweet somebody made of it. Was about Charlie Ward. Apparently, if you make a donation to Charlie Ward, I don't know what it is, he's one of these guys. It's sort of like he'll charge you every month. If you make a donation, he'll charge you every month unless you stop it, or if you get once you get your credit card, he's going to do this every month. But somebody actually had done that. They had made a donation and they tried to cancel it or whatever it was. He was trying to make it into a subscription or something like that. But he was very upset because while he was calling the bank to have the charge removed, they went and charged him again. But it's interesting, and then I saw over on the Kim Shady page, she had this big thing that she had created saying, not Merry Christmas, but have a Kimmy Christmas or something like this. And underneath that was all her PayPal information and various different ways that you could donate money to her cause. And I thought, gosh, I should have something cute like that, but I did that a little bit on Facebook, because I had a Facebook page for the radio station, but on the group, it's not like that. I don't ask for money. When I went to Vegas, of course, people were donating because I was asking for money, but I don't normally do that. And historically, Christmas time is one of those times of year where people are not really inclined to give money to things like this because they're busy buying gifts for their various significant others, etc. So it's a little bit of a tough time. So I just have to throw that out there every show, of course, to please think about donating. And if you do, please use the PayPal, which is StephenKelly714 @Yahoo. And I'm sure people are still sending money to the other PayPal, but oh well. And of course, please say friend or family so that I can actually accept it. Otherwise, again, if you haven't gotten the book, please read the book. I know a lot of you guys, this is one of the things that bugs me when I see you reading or digesting all this nonsense coming from these various talking heads out there. I'm thinking, you got all this time to read this crap. Why haven't you read my book yet? And if you want to get it PDF, just send me an email, okay? law17gun@AOL.com, law17gun@AOL.com. That's the email. And I'll send it to you. Also, healing. We're doing lots of healing, and I wish everybody would just have a wonderful, wonderful results, because sometimes people's destiny basically is that they're going to get sick and have issues, and that's unfortunate. But I really want to encourage people, if you're don't even think about it. If you need healing or you're having any kind of issues whatsoever, you know someone else that is, please have them reach out to me, and I would love to be involved in trying to help them out. Okay? So please send me an email, and the more I can do that, the better it is. Also, if you're interested in the JEDI movement, and no, it's not over, and no, we don't have 144,000 yet, but we work every night, okay? And we're going to keep working every night, and hopefully that'll get over real soon, and hopefully more people in the 3D will do more work to get this mission, the Occupy the Getty mission, publicized, and we can move faster. We can do a lot more work. Okay? So, with that, I'm going to thank all you guys that tuned in tonight here. Let me just look and see how many of you are still here. Yeah, most of you are still here. Still don't know who that Salt Lake City person is. Huh. Most of the United Kingdom. Yep. You guys must be getting all bumped off. Chicago's still here. All right. With that, I'm going to thank you. And if you haven't joined the Telegram page, please do it. You should find a link here on this video or one of my other videos. And if you haven't subscribed to the page, again, I'm not making any money. It's not monetized. It doesn't really matter, but it all helps, okay? If you subscribe and you hit the like button and all that, it might actually make it easier for more people to get exposed to this stuff, because it'll pop up on someone's suggested view list, okay? So help me out with that, all right? And go back and watch some of these older videos, because there's so many of them that you haven't even looked at that are very pertinent still today, okay? Don't make me pull it out and stick it in front of you. Also, if you haven't watched the Felix Sater series that I did on YouTube, please watch that, because when people talk about Trump, they talk about Vesco, and they have questions about the various different links with the various different mafia groups to the administration's current and past. If you really want to understand all that complex nonsense, please watch my Felix Sater video, okay? Just watch all my videos. Okay. Now, I do, again, appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and I look forward to having you next week again, and hopefully I'll have something a little more exciting for you. But in the meantime, just get out there and do a lot more work for me, okay? I'm gonna blame everyone else. It's not my fault. You need to work harder, okay? Seriously. And all of you that are working so hard with various different pages and all that, that's great. Especially those of you that have started pages on, like not just Telegram, but any of these things. They're all extremely useful. Okay? So do more. You don't have to just make your voice heard on my page. Go out and create your own page. Go out and create other pages. And there's a lot of places that I don't go, like 4chan and TikTok and Instagram and places like that. You need to go there for me, okay? I'm an old guy. I'm not supposed to be hip on all this stuff, okay? Do it for me. Make it hip for me, all right? Devote your life to it. And yeah, the people that have been spray tagging graffiti with stuff that says, we need to get the OTG more. Okay, OTG. We should be the most notorious organization on earth. All right, make OTG notorious. Thank you. I'll see you guys next week. Okay. Once again, my name is Stephen Kelley. This has been the Stephen D. Kelley Show. We are TruthCat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. It is still December 16th, 2021. It's now 6:52 p.m. I'll see you guys next week. Good night. God bless. Adios and goodbye.